Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parirajakacharya Ashtota Sadashta A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Shrihadas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gobhakta Vindaki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Yamuna Maya Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Gantarashma Bhagavatam Ki, all Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta, Swamiti Namani, Namaste Saraswate Devi, Gauravani Vacharine Nivasesha Sanyavadi Pastachari Shatani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5. What's the text number? 19. Kindly repeat. Na vai janaha jatu katanchana avrajet mukunda sevi anyavat anga sangsritim smaran mukunda angri upagohanam punaha vihatum ichet na rasagraha janaha na vajano jatu katanchana vrajen mukunda sevyanyavadanga sangsritim maran mukundan guhanang punar Vihatum ichena rasagraho jana Navajano jatu katanchana vrajan Mukunda sevyan yavadanga sangsritim Maran mukundan Kripukohanam punar Vihatum ichena rasagraho jana Navajano jatu katanchana vrajan Mukunda sevyanyavadanga sangsritim Maram mukundangri upagohanam punar Vihatum ichena rasagraho jana
Vajano jatu katanchana vrajen kunda seyan anyavad anga sankritim
Mukunda sevyanyavadanga sangsritim
Mukundangri paguhanam puna
Maran mukundangri upagohanam punar Vihatum ichena rasagraho. Anybody else like to chant? Navaijano jatu katanchana vajan. Mukunda sejan yavadanga samsritim. Difficult to read on that word. Gohanam. Maranma kondang viupagohanam punar. Yahatumichena vasakaham. Navaijano jatu katanchana vajan. Mukunda sejan yavadanga samsritim. Maran makotangri upagohanam punar. Vihatumichana soga aujana. Ladies. Navaijano jatu katanchana vajan. Mukunda sejan yavadanga samsritim. Maran makundangri upagohanam punar. Yatam chenna vasakadam. Navaijano jatu katanchana vajan. Mukunda sejan yavadanga samsritim. Mukunda sejan yavadanga samsritim. No, sorry. That was meant to be a follow. I just lost my. Sorry, Sita. Ihatamichana vasagrahojana. That third line's a bit of a tongue twister. Takes a bit of practice. Welcome back, Sita. When did you come? When you returned? Yesterday. Nice. So word for word, na, never. Now, I don't think you have anyone here to translate. No one to translate for Gokularani. Vai, certainly. Janaha, a person. Maybe someone can possibly find the French edition and give it to Gokularani. Find the verse, please. Jatu, at any time. Katanchana, somehow or other. Avrajate, does undergo. Does not undergo. Mukunda Sevi, the devotee of the Lord. Anyavat, like others. Anga, oh my dear. Sang Sritim, material existence. Smaran, remembering. Mukunda Angri, the lotus feet of the Lord. Nice word, Mukunda Angri. We used to have a magazine in Malaysia, we called it Mukunda Angri. Upa Guhanam, embracing, punaha, again, vihatum, willing to give up, icchet, desire, na, never, rasagraha, one who has relished the mellow, janaha, person. Have you got the verse, Gokularani? She has the verse? No glasses. Can't read. What to do? You can borrow mine, but you won't be able to read either. Neither will I. Well, the words of Srila Prabhupada, we hope, will enter into our hearts, whatever the language, even though it's coming through an imperfect instrument. We still hope that the effect will be felt. Translation. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, somehow or another, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. All right. There's a very, no, maybe you've already had it. Can't remember. Must have already said it. Yes, yesterday. Have we got the right verse? Am I on the right verse? Am I? Okay, 2 days ago, you had the famous verse that Chatvasa Dharmam Charanam Bhajam Hare. Got no idea. But that text number 17 is one most famous verse. And this verse is also quite famous, the English at least. I'll try to read the purport. A devotee of the Lord automatically becomes uninterested in the enchantment of material existence because he is rasa graha. Nice word to remember. Rasa graha. Does anyone remember from the word for word what rasa graha means? It means one who has, relish the mellows, or the mellow. One who has tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. There are certainly many instances where devotees of the Lord have fallen down due to uncongenial association, just like fruitive workers who are always prone to degradation. Can we think of anyone? No, I don't mean modern. In our modern experience, we'll think of only too many. But in terms of Vedic history, or not say even Vedic, but some kind of history which we may have heard, someone who may have fallen down due to uncongenial association. You need some tissues, Sita? You need tissues? You need some tissues. Oh, you have a handkerchief, okay.
I can remember someone that went into the forest that got distracted by a woman.
Oh, I went into the forest. Maybe it was me.
Sorry?
Me?
I mean,
I fell down into the, over there somewhere. Somebody went into the forest,
and
okay.
they got distracted by a woman, was a prostitute, I think, or something. Thinking of Adrian? Yeah, I think so.
Maybe, but it may not have been the forest, but he went somewhere. And exactly, you've got a good example. When he was out one day, he saw a low-class man with low-class woman, and they're embracing and kissing. And he became affected by that. And after some time, he was meditating on it, and he fell down. Any other examples? Yeah, there's another famous example, I suppose, we could give, isn't it? We heard some from Hari Parshad also last week. Bharat Maharaj is a famous example how by, there's a lot, it's a big story, we won't go deep, but in principle, by the association of all things, but by a fawn, a young deer, he fell from his spiritual practices and had to take birth himself as a deer. Another example? Yeah, that's an interesting example. It might be, every example has a different lesson to learn, and maybe a different reason also. But he also became attracted to his own progeny, his own daughter. And because he cast off that body which was subtle, which was attracted to, this what do we say, fallen behavior. We heard last week also how nobody in the universe except for Narayan himself is immune from the sexual attraction to the opposite sex. Nobody. Only Narayan himself. Right. Huh? Shobhari Muni was another example, isn't it? Because there's more to that story. Each one of them has a different warning and lesson. In the case of Shobhari Muni, his fall down was instigated. They're all instigated by certain factors. There's Rishashinga, the brahmachari, Rishashinga, also fell down in the association unknowingly of opposite sex. He didn't even know they were the opposite sex. Lord Shiva, all these are very special examples, of course. Lord Shiva became attracted to Mohini Murti, but of course Mohini Murti is a form of Krishna, but still the principle was there. But in the case of somebody like, what was the example we gave before, Rishashinga? Shobhari Muni. Shobhari Muni, what was his fault? Why did he fall down? He was a great Muni. Two fish copulating, but there's usually a cause for this. I mean, why wasn't he protected? Pardon?
He was cursed that he will fall down.
Pardon?
He was cursed by Garuda that he will fall down because he was disturbed by him.
Yeah. I don't know if Garuda cursed him, maybe you're right, but he offended Garuda. He offended, and because of that offense, therefore he was not protected. Now, it's not that every one of these situations has the same reason. You wouldn't say that Lord Shiva, for instance, apparent fall down, orchestrated by the Lord, they all have the Lord's hand behind them. Whatever it is, there's a bigger picture there for either a lesson to be taught or some other pastime to evolve. With the case of Rishashinga, for instance. But he was very renounced, so the lesson of just simply being detached and apart from, let's say, unbecoming association, or uncongenial, as Prabhupada uses association here. We're faced with uncongenial association for a lot of the time. I mean, if you're living in the temple all the time, hopefully not so much. Still, it may be there. Devotees sometimes are not behaving in quite the best way they could. And sometimes, of course, volunteers or people in general come, and they may be thinking or even acting in ways which are not so Krishna conscious, we could say. It's not there. We could say it's there for all the time, but it's their nature. It's not that that's a unexpected feature. Amongst devotees, sometimes it happens too. So we're faced with that. So let's see what Prabhupada says. When even great personalities or elevated personalities like Bharat Maharaj appear to fall down. Of course, in Bharat Maharaj's case, it's interesting. Prabhupada says what his fault was. I mean, there wasn't really any fault in one sense, except for that he became overwhelmed. What was his fault? Pardon? Well, is there a real fault in that? Here it is. It's a bit mundane, but it's not unexpected. There's a fault behind it. There's a major fault behind it. He didn't have association of devotees. He was alone. And Prabhupada gets more specific. He says he didn't consult with the guru as to the right course of action, even at that point. And well, there's a deeper reason behind it too, is that Krishna wanted it. Krishna wanted him to appear to fall down. And he never really fell down as such, like an ordinary fall down. Because he was a pure devotee. On the level of bhava. It sounds very strange. It's not very encouraging in many ways, you could say. That even on the level of bhava, you're well, it's good in one sense to be careful. But no, it's Krishna's purposely arranged for this and inspired Bharat Maharaj to become captivated by the deer, not just to help the deer in distress, but actually adopted the deer like a son, practically, and became overwhelmed with material affection. The same with Arjuna. In one sense, Arjuna fell down, not exactly the same way, but he was behaving like a fallen soul, wasn't he? Or more or less arguing with Krishna in one sense, certainly doubting him. Not the behavior of an eternal associate of the Lord, is it? It's orchestrated. So sometimes these pure devotees, we could say Bhakti Vinod Thakur, in a more recent incident. I mean, his early life was hardly the life of pure Vaishnavism. He was born in a Shakta family, and they weren't even vegetarians. And he was more inclined towards Mayavad philosophy. But this is orchestrated. There are reasons for all of this. And this quite often happens. Even Rupa and Sanata consider themselves fallen, because they were working for the Muslims. And Srila Prabhupada even says, we can kind of understand they adopted, to what extent, he doesn't go into detail, but adopted the habits of Muslims. I don't think that they were eating meat, but maybe other habits are there. Krishna Das, example. And there's a very severe example, isn't it? Krishna Das, Lord Chaitanya's servant. Can you imagine? You're the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he fell down. Personal servant. It happened with Prabhupada's personal servants too, on several occasions. It may be different reasons. In the case of Krishnadas, again, we'll see ultimately, of course, there's a reason behind it. It's not just, he was such a neophyte or something. There's more reasons behind it, not just the neophyte mentality which appears to be there, becoming attracted by some Batahari gypsy girls. You know, the gypsy girls around here as well, you know. Even the neophyte devotees are not generally so attracted. But he somehow got captivated by these ladies, and Lord Chaitanya rescued him. So we see in just about every case, every cloud has a silver lining, so they say in English. That means there's always a good side to it. There's this lesson to learn. There's a good result there somewhere. And that is, of course, the thrust of today's verse, that even though it appears, or they do fall down, that ultimately, once having engaged in devotional service, and some taste is there. It may not be as deep as Bharat Maharaj, and certainly not as deep as most of the examples which were just given. But there's some taste is there. And I remember there was several cases we could cite. That I remember one devotee who was, when he was with me for quite a while, his spiritual master had unfortunately left the practice of devotional service, and then he stayed in Vrindavan with the VIHE, and I was very happy. I thought he was well situated. He was a quite learned devotee. And then he went away during the summer to collect some funds for his studies, and he fell down into Maya. There's some woman somewhere. And he didn't come back. He went home feeling a little bit disgraced, I suppose. And then he got entangled with his previous activities and became a born-again Christian, of all things. A fanatic, we sometimes say. And but he communicated with me for a while, and he said he wasn't at all in agreement with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and was trying to encourage me to join him. I didn't join him, but he tried to encourage. And he was going on and on and on, and I kind of had to cut off. But he said one thing. He said, try as he may, he said he couldn't directly criticize Prabhupada. Not direct, I mean indirectly, you could say, but not like person. Boom. And he couldn't. Also, he had love for the cows in Vrindavan. He really loved the cows. You know, some taste was there, something, a little bit was there. I don't know what happened to him. And there's many, many examples of that, of devotees who drifted away, but can't completely, give up their attraction to something at least. Or if they're not perhaps so offensive in their going away, then Krishna doesn't let them go away. Maybe you've had, I don't know, some of us have had that experience. I remember one time, I didn't want to leave the temple exactly, but I left anyway. And I disappeared in the middle of the night a long time ago. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just hitchhiking somewhere, just to kind of see. I just wanted to go out. And every single person who picked me up was like, oh, you're Hare Krishna? Oh, what's it? Tell me all about Krishna. Wherever I went, it was like I couldn't get away. One of my godbrothers said similar thing when he really left in for a while. And he tried to really get in Maya. I didn't do that. He really tried. And, he got the facilities, all kinds of rock music and parties. Everywhere he went, somebody would be there, and they say they didn't know he was anything to do with Hare Krishna. He was trying to totally, put it out of his life and try to behave like a total non-Hare Krishna. But he go to a party, and the first person he speak to, he said, I don't know if you ever heard about this. I came across one of those Hare Krishnas today. And you go to a rock concert, they have backdrop with Krishna, with the flute. And everywhere he went, it was like, couldn't get rid of him, Someone that Krishna has his ways of protecting or keeping us in connection somehow or another. Even though we're in bad or uncongenial association, Krishna's still there, waiting for the opportunity. But even though he falls down, a devotee is never considered the same as a fallen karmi. So that's the point. Never the same, because any little devotional service, neha bhikkhano nashosti pachavayo navijate. Krishna says to Arjuna, what does he say? Famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. What does it mean? Neha bhikkhano nashosti pachavaya navijate. Even if you make a little advancement on this path, pardon? There's no loss, there's no diminution. You can be saved from the greatest danger. You may suffer for a little while, but you don't. It's not like a fallen karma. It's completely under the grips of the material energy. Prabhupada writes one purport that when a person, even very beginning of devotional service, they're no longer under the grips like an ordinary materialistic fruitive worker. That Krishna personally takes hand in their journey from there on. It may take a while. It may go through a few twists and turns. But Krishna's hand is there to bring that devotee back on the path, or that jiva who's somehow or another connected with Krishna consciousness. A karmi suffers the result of his own fruitive reactions, whereas a devotee is reformed. Some very important point. Is reformed by chastisement. What do we get to here? By chastisement, directed by the Lord himself. There, Prabhupada says, same thing. Directed by chastisement, reformed by chastisement, directed by the Lord himself. And so many times that's happened. I mean, I'm not prepared anything, but yeah, I know. But even from our present experience, oftentimes we hear devotees, they drift away and then they have some really unfortunate, unpleasant, fortunate actually, but unpleasant circumstance. And first we may not recognize it, but Krishna's hand is working to help to break. When we have something which is blocking our spiritual advancement and we're attached to it, falsely identifying with it, and so on and so forth, and subtle growth, whatever. When sometimes Krishna, sometimes is required sometimes, that has to be taken away. And that's what Krishna wants. He doesn't want, we're not here to become, machines. We're not here to become, gurus in one sense, but label sannyasis or so-called Brahmins, and what have you. These are only valuable if they help us to actually develop our love of Krishna, to become free of the driving force of our false egos and to become attached to serving Krishna. Otherwise, there are impediments on the path. So sometimes Krishna takes that away to enable. He's not so concerned with what the public think. Who cares what the public think? In the reality, we do, of course, but in the higher perspective, it doesn't really matter what they think. It's what Krishna thinks that counts. And he wants us to become pure. He wants us to go back to Godhead, as we say, to return or to enter into loving devotional relationship. So he's expert, arranges circumstances. We may not understand it because we're seeing it from our limited perspective, but Krishna arranges circumstances to remove the blockages which are not allowing the flow of love of Godhead, because we're still seeing ourselves as the enjoyer or the center, proprietor, and so on. So he will take that away. He's very fortunate. There's a famous verse, Yasyaham anugrinami, I can't remember it all anymore. But Prabhupada, when he was a householder, he had his business, and he was predicted that he would become one of the richest businessmen in India. But it worked a little bit, then it would collapse. It worked a little bit, then it collapsed. Somebody would steal everything, or somebody would cheat him. Something would happen. And his business never really got off the ground. He had enough to survive and a little bit extra, but not much. And, he's just wondering, he had intention, even in his case, his intention on the order of his spiritual master, if ever you get money, print books. He wanted to make money to print books. You can say, well, why did Krishna frustrate his efforts in India? He didn't. Krishna had a bigger plan. So it kind of just didn't work out. And when Prabhupada read this verse, when Krishna is favorably disposed to his devotee, who, maybe somewhat attached to a particular activity or whatever, Krishna kindly takes it away. So Krishna took away this idea, in a sense. Not the idea in the bigger picture, but in terms of doing business, making money, it didn't work. He also took away his family at a certain point of time. It's another story. And Prabhupada was destitute. He had nothing left. He hardly had a rupee to his name. He was living from day to day in Vrindavan, just next to no possessions, next to nothing. Nobody knew, what was ahead. Krishna had the greatest plan on earth. So Srila Prabhupada's service and the consequent the mission of ISKCON, Krishna consciousness all over the world. But it looked like everything was lost. He was alone, struggling alone in the wilderness, Prabhupada said, with no money, no followers, nothing. Just faith in Krishna and the holy name. So, and sometimes Krishna takes things away for other reasons, and we haven't got time, but there's so many examples that might come to your mind, few come to my mind, of how Krishna works like this for a higher purpose, because we're attached to something which is not what Krishna wants. The whole purpose of this movement is to become attached to what Krishna wants, not what we want or what someone else wants, but what Krishna wants. We're not here to impress the public, although we take that into account in the process of trying to spread institutionally Krishna consciousness, of course. It has to be taken into account. But it's not the real count. It's whether Krishna is pleased. Prabhupada said, even if nobody appreciates what you're doing, if Krishna appreciates, it's perfect. But even if everyone else appreciates, if Krishna doesn't, it's useless. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. because it depends which way we look at that. Suffering is suffering. We heard about suffering the other day from Hari Parshad Prabhu, that actually everything in this world in one sense is suffering, because we're an illusion. We're causing our own future suffering by our so-called happiness. Material happiness is just a cause of suffering. And then we suffer, or atone or something, when we get some happiness, and then that causes, it just goes round and round in a cycle of bhogatyag, round and round and round. Unending karma. Like a prisoner, he suffers the consequences of his crime, he's then released, free, then he does the same thing again, and goes back in again. He's out, he's happy, he starts stealing again, he's feeling great, getting a taste from stealing, then he gets caught again and thrown back in again. This is the material world. An orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him, so the materialistic person really is just lost. He's just going around the cycle of samsara, cycle of birth and death, of karma. Whereas a devotee, it's like, even we have the experience when you have a little child, when the child is with its parents, it feels completely safe, protected, confident. When the child is lost from its parents, it's completely lost. No one else can give it shelter. But a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of the capable father, providing what he needs. The child who doesn't have an orphan is very in a fallible situation, not at all sure what's going to happen. A devotee of the Lord, due to wrong association, sometimes imitates the fruitive workers. The fruitive workers want to lord it over the material world. It's a very big topic. But in short, sometimes we think, oh, I'm not happy, I could get more happiness, I'll go back to do my material life or whatever. Try to enjoy. We try to do the same. We gave those up years ago because we weren't satisfied, and we're trying to go back to them again. The fruitive workers want to lord it over. Similarly, a neophyte devotee foolishly thinks of accumulating some material power in exchange for devotional service. Now, there's another angle, and this is probably the biggest challenge which many of us face, is we're sort of thinking I should get something material out of the Krishna conscious movement. We didn't come here to get something material, at least we may have done, but we should realize that that's not the point of it, at least. We've come here to get out of the material world, not to get into it. And, sometimes we think we should, I should be respected. I should have, the facility I want. I should, I've served this movement for 30 years. What have I got out of it? No money. I haven't got any money. Sometimes we think, we heard, what's the word he used the other day, we have no rights in one sense. We think we have our rights over somebody or some organization or something. But in reality, we don't, because nothing at any stage ever belongs to us. At any stage, nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna. It's meant to be used in Krishna's service. But sometimes we think that we should, be mine. Of course, in the neophyte stage, we do need some. Obviously, and at every stage we have need of some, but we may not be demanding or expecting. We're depending on Krishna, whatever he provides. But in the beginning stage, it may not be quite so easy. We do tend to be very much judging things by how much respect we get, or things are done the way we think they should be. Because our perception is wrong. First thing we should understand. is that my perception is wrong. We're here to try to change my perception, to change it, to understand how Krishna's hand is working, not just to deal with that person or that incident, but a situation for us to change our perception. The incident's another thing. Somebody's misbehaving or whatever in the name of being an authority in Krishna consciousness. That's another thing. But all this is to help us to change our perception of it, to stop thinking I know what's right and wrong. I'm the controller, and so on and so forth. I'm right. We're not right. Otherwise we wouldn't be here in the first place. Is to change our perception through hearing, through chastisement sometimes, many times, through association, experience, and mercy, to change our perception of ourselves and the world around us. Such foolish devotees are sometimes put into difficulty by the Lord himself. We think we should get something in exchange for devotional service. As a special favor, Krishna may remove all material paraphernalia. Sometimes he puts us out, completely lost in the material world. Nothing works, if we're lucky. If we're unlucky, maybe a little bit more time yet, things start to work and we seem to make it in the material world. We have to suffer a bit longer. By such action, the bewildered devotee is forsaken by all friends and relatives. That's the other part of that verse. That nothing works. And he comes to his senses again by the mercy of the Lord and is set right to execute his devotional service. He comes back with more humility and realizes that I didn't quite have the right attitude. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that such fallen devotees are given a chance to take birth in a family of highly qualified Brahmins or in a rich mercantile family. That's for the neophytes generally who fall down. More advanced devotees, they take birth in a family of transcendentalists. But the neophyte or less advanced, generally they take birth again, but they take birth in a good family, pious family. A special favor of the Lord. Where are we here? A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord. Listen to this. A devotee in such a position is not as fortunate as one who is chastised by the Lord and put into a position of seemingly of helplessness. We may not be so inspired by that, I don't know. Yeah. My God, he's going to chastise me, he's going to humiliate me in the world around us. What a horrible thing, huh? Being humiliated on social media. The whole world is looking at you like you're, like the devil himself or something. Oh, it sounds good. Take birth in a rich family, a merchant or qualified Brahmin family. It sounds like a nice situation. The devotee who becomes helpless by the will of the Lord is more fortunate than those who are born in good families. The fallen devotees born in good families may forget the lotus feet of the Lord because they're less fortunate. You can get attached to that situation, maybe even entangled in it. I'm a Brahmin. I'm materially well-to-do. You Vaishnavas are depending on me. All these illusions come in. The fallen, but the devotee was put into a forlorn condition, a helpless condition, is more fortunate because he swiftly returns to the lotus feet of the Lord, thinking himself helpless all around him. We realize we have no shelter. The whole material world, we're looking at this as a microcosmic situation, but on the bigger situation, that's exactly what's going on in the world itself. We're all in a forlorn condition. And when we realize we're helpless, then we may turn to God. We may turn to the Lord, save me. I have no other shelter. And many of us may have felt like that before we came in contact with Srila Prabhupada and Krishna conscious movement. Pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that a devotee becomes automatically uninterested in material enjoyment. It's so spiritually relishable. And sometimes because of these maintaining, obstacles, maintaining attitude which is unfavorable, maintaining certain types of false perception, attachments, and so on in this world, sometimes we may feel that, I'm not getting a taste anymore, especially if we offend devotees. Then we will not get the taste. And then when we haven't got the taste, then we start to think of other things. And it's quite a common affair. That is a sign, we'll go back. Pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that a devotee becomes automatically uninterested. So we know when we're fully engaged. A very common thing, I was sorting out notes during the night from 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 weeks ago, hundreds and thousands of notes, filing them away into categories. But where was I going there? One of those categories, maybe I'll come to it in a minute, slipped my mind. But Prabhupada is saying here, becoming disinterested in material enjoyment. Yes, one of those categories was Srila Prabhupada explaining how we can be protected from slipping into this scenario of becoming, losing taste. And one of the main reasons is laziness. Not being engaged, Prabhupada would say, idle mind, devil's workshop. Again and again, over and over, hundreds and thousands of times, Srila Prabhupada is saying, keep fully engaged in devotional service. We complain sometimes. The only purpose, ultimately, maybe at that level, but the only purpose is to become fully engaged in devotional service. It's not to just do a little bit and run away. It's to keep engaged 24 hours a day. That, Prabhupada said, is the purpose of this movement. To keep engaged. And one's protected. One's under the shelter of the divine energy. But we have this tendency to be a little lazy. What to do? We're conditioned and we're surrounded by a world which is encouraging us otherwise. But we try to meditate, think about it. We should be eager for service, using common sense, obviously. Over endeavor is also there, but we should learn, understand how to keep fully engaged. And that way, Prabhupada said, the mind, we're all saying, there's so many problems with my mind. There's no problem in a sense, it's just we're identifying with it, that's the only problem. The mind's just a material whirlpool. But we're identifying with it. But the best way to deal with the mind problem is to always keep engaged and to always think of how I can assist in spreading Krishna consciousness. Those are Prabhupada's words. How I can assist in spreading Krishna consciousness. Some way or another. Whatever it may be. Little, this thing, that thing. Make prasadam, distribute it. Send it, give a book to someone. Chant Hare Krishna. Do something. Not just, I've got to deal with my mind. There is nowhere, as I've seen, where Prabhupada says you have to deal with the mind. Go to some this, that, and the other. Of course, that may be necessary sometimes. But that's not the solution, because we're still identifying with it. It's to actually absorb ourselves in hearing and chanting, particularly hearing and chanting the holy name, Krishna, Sankirtan. Kirtan is our only shelter. It's our only cure for all of our ills. The holy name of Krishna, absorbing ourselves in the association of devotees, wherever we are, chanting the holy names of Krishna. This is what this movement is based upon in a practical sense. And we do other services at the same time. We can try to chant Hare Krishna. But to evoke the mercy of Krishna by calling on his name, no other way we can be protected other than the mercy of Krishna. We have to call him. A pure devotee, pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that a devotee becomes, we read that, that is the sign of perfection in progressive devotional service, with losing interest in all these other so-called forms of satisfaction or happiness. A pure devotee continuously remembers the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna and does not forget him even for a moment. And that means, Prabhupada said, practically that means we should be always chanting. Not even in exchange for all the opulences of the three worlds. And we have living examples of devotees who were born in very rich mercantile families, and they gave it up to become basically poverty-stricken devotees, men and women. And even when they were tempted by their family members, they were not interested. The value of devotional service, there's no comparison to all the wealth in the universe to a drop of pure devotional service. All the wealth in the universe does nothing unless we use it in Krishna's service, of course. It does nothing except for implicate us in karma. Deeper and deeper and deeper. Whereas a drop of devotional service, even a tiny drop, is the beginning of our release from the prison house of material existence. The beginning. It may just be the beginning. But it's the most valuable thing that can happen in one's life, is that one gets that opportunity to associate with a devotee who somehow or another gives us that chance to connect. Even Prabhupada said, if they give 1 farthing, you don't even know what that is. That's not even 1 centime. 1 centime. If they give 1 centime to be used in Krishna's service, their life can become perfect. Not immediately, we don't see that usually happening, but it's the beginning of perfection for that soul. They're never the same again. Or if they see the Harinam Sankirtan, or if they participate, or if they take prasadam, or if they once come to the temple, those images, what they see. Prabhupada in Bombay one time said to Giriraj Swami, he said, if a person once sees Lord Jagannath on the rat car, at the time of death, all of the pictures throughout their life are kind of like an unreeling of a film. They come before the consciousness of that dying, or that soul who's about to leave the body. And that picture of Jagannath comes up. And when that picture of Jagannath comes up, it wipes out all the other pictures. Just like a camera film, you don't even know what it is probably. We used to have these cameras with little reels of film inside. As soon as you expose it to the light, the whole film is destroyed. So similarly, when one is exposed a little bit to Krishna consciousness, it's no longer the same. It's like the whole karmic film is cleansed. It's a matter of time, of course, before it grows. That little seed grows and grows. Eventually, however long it takes, but eventually it completely takes over completely. May take some time, And we see that, as otherwise the words would not go away. It takes a little bit more. We're still attracted to the weeds, so it takes a little bit more time to let go of our attraction to the weeds. But it's not lost. Any amount of devotional service is never lost. I think that text 17 described that. Yeah. So anyway, this is wonderful subject matter being discussed here by Narada Muni, and very essential, especially in our world that we're in, because we know we're all weak, we can all fall down very easily. It's not so difficult not to in some cases. Prabhupada said, don't be surprised by those who go away. It's a very, Maya, especially these days, very challenging day with social media and all the various forms of say, Kali's creations all around us, creating doubts. But even more dangerous than the external ones are the internal. Within our own Sangha, devotees getting into arguing over things, debating things which we have no absolute realization of, to understand exactly what is right and wrong, siding, strongly siding, almost to the point, or maybe to the point of offending each other, criticizing each other. Especially on social media, this goes on like rockets, back and forth. They have their, what do they call these things? They're flying it over with rockets, what do they call them? America and drones. We're constantly sending drones at each other, finding fault. As if we know what's right and wrong. Constantly going on, whether it's COVID, whether it's wars, whether it's women's, and women, ladies, females, you've got to be careful which word you use, depends who you're with, giving initiation, what is it, unlimited, veganism, you name it, there's no end changing the books, there's no end of different let's say, potential diversions from the path of pure devotional service. No end. Kali is so expert. He's like entering in every opportunity, and we lose sight of what we really came here for and what we're really here and what we should be doing. Easy to lose sight and get entangled in all of these. One devotee came up to me in Mayapur and said, Maharaj, listen to this. I've got the proof. They've changed the books. It's what they call it. It's not a plot, was it the word they use? Conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. They've changed it. I said, the only thing that needs to change is the way we see it, not what we see. We're always thinking, I'm seeing right, you're seeing wrong. And it has to be changed. Because there's some amount of common sense is necessary, no doubt. And it's a great struggle, difficult for the managers to keep the balance. But ultimately we should understand we're here to change our perception, not change everyone else's, or change everything around us. That will go on whether we like it or not. There's a great, lovely music. Thank you for that. I guess that's the final whistle. The final whistle will come to all of us. Imagine if you leave this body, still like in a mental state, wondering whether ladies should give initiation or not, whether or not the book changes were the biggest deviation in this movement, whether somebody did this or that. What an unfortunate way to leave the body. You have to come back again, fight with it all over again. Maybe, if you're in a male body and you have a hang-up with it, you take birth as a lady in your next life. If you're a lady, you take birth as a man. You never know what's going to happen. Because there's no loss, but you still have to go through certain things. We're here to cultivate pure devotional service, hearing and chanting about Krishna. And everything will become clearer. It's not our business to manage. There's one chapter, I think it's in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, universal management. It's like 7 verses long. 7 verses or something crazy. I think maybe the shortest chapter in the whole Bhagavatam. Universal management. Management is when we put Krishna in the center of our lives, not ourselves. Anyway, we go on and on. Getting a bit overboard there. So that's it. Finished. We're finished. We have to try to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. How fortunate the pujaris are, going on the altar every day and they're dressing the deities and maybe massaging the Lord's lotus feet. What a fortunate service. Sometimes, I don't know, we still have problems. I can never work that one out, but sometimes we still have problems. It should be the safest place in the universe. And then we go outside and start gossiping, fault finding, wasting our time, not chanting our rounds, not listening to Bhagavatam, maybe even offending someone. You'll be very careful, very careful. Praying for protection. Pray for protection. Danger at every step. There's danger at every step of our lives. Danger is not some, I saw this enormous spider. I've never seen such a big spider in France before. A big, fat spider. Long, black legs. Really big yesterday. I was picking up wood and it came out from underneath. Some people get scared. They don't scare me. Some people get really scared with spiders. That's not the type of danger. Or, a wild boar suddenly comes right in front of us. I'm trying to think of things that happen here in France. Dangerous things. A snake 6 inches long. 100 times more scared of us than we are of the snake, but it scares us nonetheless. Dangers, huh? Maybe other types of health dangers are there. There's dangers at every step, but that's not the real danger. The danger is the danger of falling away. The danger of putting ourselves in the center. The danger of forgetting Krishna. That's the danger. And we need to be reminded of that. To remember. Mukundangri, the lotus feet of the Lord. Take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, our only shelter. And Prabhupada says in this age of Kali that taking shelter of the lotus feet means taking shelter of the Maha Mantra, the holy name, particularly. There are 9 processes of devotional service, but primarily it's taking shelter of Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. That's our main shelter in the association of devotees. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we had no proper French translation for Gokul Rani. But doesn't know what we're talking about, what to do. Any comments? Questions? Always got some enlivening response.
It's such a nice class. So much content there in that purport. I was focusing on this last paragraph, so you said so many things and so many thoughts came to my mind. This last paragraph starts with pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable.
Pure devotional service, yeah. Even mixed devotional service. Pure devotional service. We see in the Nectar of Devotion the characteristics of pure devotional service. One of them is Shubhada, Kleshagni, removal of material distress, Shubhada. Prabhupada discusses Shubhada, which is like auspicious, but it brings about all auspiciousness, in the sense of describing how pure devotional service, the happiness which is experienced from pure devotional service, is so much greater than the happiness one obtains from any other form of or object of pleasure, even up to the point of Brahman, which also comes up as a characteristic of pure devotional service. But he also describes even in the beginning stages, it is better than the pleasure, even it may not be on the level of let's say, the topmost level of devotional service, but even in the beginning stages, and as one progresses, of course, there's no entry, there's not even a thought of anything but devotional service. In the beginning, those thoughts may come, and those attractions may be there, but when one's actually engaged in devotional service, the happiness of devotional service, even in the practicing stage of devotional service, is higher or more relishable than the pleasure of other things. So why is it, therefore? Of course, in the very, very beginning, there may not be a very much development. It's not very mature. Our devotional practice may not be very mature, so we may not feel so much of a taste. Now, there may be reasons why we're not feeling so much of a taste. Some we've already mentioned, attitude, and it may take a little bit more time before we have a more favorable attitude. We have to go back and forth a little bit, and that unfavorable attitude may include the tendency to criticize others, to find fault in others, to blaspheme, and so on and so forth. May be there, where modes of nature are very strong. We're still strongly influenced by the modes of nature. I was listening yesterday. One, I don't know if a devotee or guest, no way of telling, was quoting, for instance, but it says, in the book, science book or something different to what Prabhupada was saying about the universe. And Prabhupada said, okay, we follow Bhagavad Gita. If you want to follow Mr. America, that's your choice. We follow Bhagavad Gita. We may still have, lack of faith, lack of trust, lack of something or another. We don't have sufficient faith. We're not, therefore, pure. Naturally, in the beginning, all these things are there, so we don't get so much of a taste. And quite often, not sufficient taste, and devotees may drift away, at least for some time, but they're not a loser. But they may drift away for some time. So sometimes it's because we're wrongly situated in our occupation, our activity, where, we need a little bit sometimes, especially in the early stages, an activity which we find pleasurable in of itself, almost. Prasadam, another, and this could go on and on, the list is unending. But prasadam, in the beginning we may not be ready for boiled rice and, boiled rice. We may want, well, where's the pakoras, where's the pizza, where's the ice cream, where's the cake? We're attracted to all these tasty dishes. It's not it's just connected, but it's not completely transient. It's mixed with a little bit of our own lust, you could say, sense enjoyment. But that may be required, same with the kirtan. If it's like, Hare Krishna, clang, clang, bang, bang, Krishna, Krishna, it may not be so attracted to our conditioned senses. So nice tunes, nice musical instruments. I was listening to Indra Prabhu all night long, 7.5 hours. of listening to Indra 24-hour kirtan, and one different tunes attract different senses, but it's very attractive, very attractive. The sound very attractive. I remember one time I was in Vrindavan Dham in the temple. Indra Prabhu was leading kirtan. Temple was packed to the max. There was one. They have these mystery tours sometimes from Delhi. They go to different places. They went to the Agra, to the Taj Mahal, and they didn't know where they're going next. Well, the tour guide brought them to the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. It was a group of well-to-do German businessmen who, some of them refused to come in when they saw where they were going. Some of them came in, and they came in, and I saw about 8 of them stood there completely bewildered what was going on. They were stood there. The temple was packed. Nobody was talking to them. Obviously, it was all Indian people. But I went over to see them and talked to them. They spoke good English. They were very well-to-do people, businessmen. And I was asking them what they thought of all of this. And they're kind of a bit bewildered. But one of them said, I'm completely stunned. He said, I said, I'm a Christian. I've been to, all kinds of Christian, musical presentations, philharmonic orchestras. I've listened to so many things in my life. I've never heard anything like this. Never heard anything. It's just gone straight into my heart. Powerful sound, power of sound, to enter his heart. Of course, they went back to their ways again, but they'll never forget that experience. That experience will never be forgotten. So, may not be getting a deep, full-on taste, but something's there. The association is so important in every respect, we could say. The association of devotees. And that's what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted us not just to put on nice external facilities. They're necessary. Prabhupada talks about that in order to attract people. He said that nobody would come if I just sat under a tree all day and chanting. Of course, people came, but they need more than that to carry on. The nice facilities, nice prasadam, nice, kind, loving association, and so on and so forth. Basic facilities, warmth, and so on are required. They're not in themselves pure devotional service, but they're paraphernalia to help us to associate with pure devotional service. But without the pure devotional service, they remain paraphernalia. And one will not get a higher taste. One becomes dependent upon facilities. One becomes dependent upon tunes. One becomes dependent upon tastes, and so on and so forth, and not necessarily upon Krishna. So one won't get the higher taste. It will be what's the word? Conditional taste. Our devotional service is supposed to be a hoitikiya pratiyata, and that's where the taste comes from. When we become unconditional, no conditions. That doesn't happen straight away. But when we associate with those who are cultivating that, who have that, then one may be able to get that higher taste. We see where we're somebody who's truly advanced in Krishna consciousness, it makes the world a difference. We see things very differently. We may even get a taste when they talk about Krishna's pastimes. Even the philosophy of Krishna consciousness heard, it acts like autumnal rains on the muddy pools of our consciousness, it describes in the Bhagavatam. It brings great relief, great satisfaction, freedom from fear. So many factors which we live with are dissolved or dissipated. The clouds are removed. the dream comes. We're trying to be happy in a dream. The dream is ended. When the dream is ended, there's no need to try to be happy in a dream. It's over. So when we associate with very advanced devotees, by their association, it has that effect upon our hearts. That's why Srila Prabhupada has left a library of books, not just for distributing, but for us to, we need association usually to enter into them, to help us to actually uncover or open the treasures that are therein. Dig deep, to enter deeply into Krishna. If you're on the surface, most of us are still floating or trying to float on the surface. One can easily become evaporated. You can easily be caught by the fisherman's net. One can easily be swept up onto the shore. Nectar of Devotion describes this. We have to go deep into the ocean of devotion. Nothing will disturb. Even if there's a, hurricane or cyclone or whatever you call it on the surface, it doesn't affect you if you're deep down, undisturbed, getting the real taste of pure devotional service. So that's what this movement's for. It's not just to be here. It's good that we're here, but it's meant we go deeper, deeper and deeper. Then one will not be disturbed by anything. So the association, all these different levels are there. But that's why Prabhupada gave a program, because that means we're associating with Srila Prabhupada through his Vani Seva, associating with his instructions, chanting japa, coming to the temple program, attending Mangalarti, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, only taking food offered to Krishna, nothing else whatsoever to eat, unless there's no other choice. Dressing like devotees, it's not that dressing like a devotee is, what does it mean? But in simple terms, it helps to remind us of what we're here for. It helps to keep us on our toes a little bit, behavior-wise. We have to represent Krishna. Like a policeman in uniform or a policeman not in uniform. When he's in uniform, he has to behave properly according to the role. All these little things are there to help. They're not actually in themselves Krishna conscious, but they're there to help us to become Krishna conscious, protect us and help us to behave favorably in a way which is favorable. And we help behaving favorably, following the practice. Krishna then reciprocates accordingly. He gives us that taste. He gives us that taste. Putting ourselves out, making a little effort out of the comfort zone for the service of Krishna. Krishna reciprocates. He reciprocates. Instead of, there's not much prasadam. The tendency is, we get a little disturbed, and we think that, oh boy, I'm going to miss out. But sometimes we have that experience. We say there's not enough prasadam, let everyone else get the prasadam. Whatever you want. And then maybe we're not ready for that. But if we do, sometimes you will experience a much higher taste than the kind of feeling of semi-guilt when you get your plate and someone else doesn't get anything. It's a different type of experience. It's a higher taste. Maybe even materially you get that, what to speak of in ISKCON or in a Krishna conscious society. Putting others first, trying to serve others, and so on. And never end. The whole process of Krishna consciousness ultimately culminates Rasagraha, of relishing the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord. The whole purpose of our drive in life is rasa, to get a taste. If we don't get a taste, Prabhupada says we will not be able to carry on. In any form, any activity. Everyone's looking for the taste, the pleasure, the rasa. And that's where Krishna consciousness is very special, because it's based on rasa. It's based on this relationship, mellow, transcendental, mellow relationship with the Lord. The sweet taste of loving exchanges. It's not based on just freedom from suffering, Mayavad liberation. No, it's based on loving exchanges. It's based on that taste of rasa. There's no rasa as such in simply merging into the Brahman. The rasa in the material world just causes suffering. We become attached to it. And when we don't get it, we suffer. The rasa, the taste must be there. And certainly Lord Chaitanya has come in the Sankirtan, the Kirtan and Prasadam. These are the two main activities Lord Chaitanya is relishing in the association of devotees. Sadhu Sangha, Nam Seva. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. We'll finish. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.